rush hour is, and then the 12th.
Good morning. It's 9 o'clock. This is regular meeting of Commissioners Court of Grimes County, Texas. The date is Wednesday, July the 10th, 2019. It is 9 a.m. We're at the Grimes County Annex at 114 West Buffington Avenue in Anderson, Texas. I would ask that everybody rise for the invocation, remain standing for the pledges, flag, U.S. and the Texas. And Charles, would you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Let us pray. Father God, we come, thank you for another chance to come together and to do the will that you have placed before us. Thank you, Father, for these commissioners and judges and those who represent this court. And we pray, Father, that you will intervene, because without you, Father, we can do nothing. So we thank you for your presence. We thank you for all the things that's going to come before this court, and it will be dissolved, and we give you glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Reverend Tompkins is representing Salem House of Blessings in Navasota. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Would you be seated, please? Second item on our agenda is set aside for public comments. We look forward to any comments that you may have to make. If you do, we'd ask that you come to the podium, identify yourself, your name, and then also limit your comments to 2 minutes if you will. Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is Jim Britt. I live out on County Road 446, and I want to make the court aware of the condition of the roadway out there. Beginning in January, Mid-South had a contractor come out, and 446 is one of the few paved county roads around, but it's not paved real well now because of the contractor's heavy equipment. There are places where it is back to a gravel roadway. Attempts have been made to fill in potholes with asphalt, but every time it rains, that pops back out. And the roadways was a very expensive proposition for the county to do, and to let the contractor get by without repairing it is kind of I guess it would be a fiduciary responsibility for the Commissioners Court to see that they did pay to have that road repaired.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
And 446 is down off of 105?
Yes, sir.
And that would be your precinct, Commissioner. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Britt. Are there any other public comments? Commissioner Walker, I think you have one.
I did.
Okay.
On behalf of the Grimes Health Resource Center, we are hosting on this Friday morning from 9 to 11 at the Navasota Center. We are hosting a picture of health in Grimes County. And this is an undertaking with Texas A&M University, Communications Department and Media Department. We want to know what the county looks like in terms of health from the viewpoint of our citizens. And what we're asking you to do is just, if you feel like participating, submit a picture and tell a story of what does this mean, what does health look like in Grimes County to you, whether it's over at the food bank, Anderson Food Bank, or a picture of fresh fruit, or children playing in the playground. We'd like to put this together and write a story. It's called Photo Voice. And if any of you are interested and you want a link to what a photo voice looks like, you can also Google it, but I can give you a link to what a photo voice presentation. We're going to talk in pictures. So whether it's good or bad, we'd like to know the health of Grimes County and how you view it. You can reach me, or you can reach the Grimes Health Resource Center at St. Joseph here in Navasota. But we need about 15 volunteers to participate in the program. So that's Friday morning from 9 to 11 o'clock at the Navasota Center.
Very good.
Thank you.
Commissioner. Commissioner Dobianski?
Yes, I've received several inquiries recently about the progress on the project at 1774 and 105. Yesterday, I had a conversation with Chad Boney with TxDOT in Bryan. He was not aware that it looked like the project had shut down, and I said, yeah, it has. It looks like it's been shut down for a while. He did some research into it and found out that they are having issues with natural springs on the west side of 1774. They think they have all of that worked out now, and he said they will be hopefully opening that portion of the north portion of it up by August, early August, and start working on the south portion of it to get it finished.
Very good. I know the people down in the Plantersville area, and those that I've passed, were pleased with that. Any other public announcements? I'm going to take the liberty to remind the citizens that are here and any that might view us on the video, there is a potential storm situation working making its way to the Gulf of Mexico. And whether it's a false alarm or it's a real deal, this would be a really good time to check your supplies of water, toilet paper, prescription medicines, all of those things that we kind of take granted for on a day-to-day basis. If you can get some non-perishable food supplies for typically a 72-hour period, that would be certainly to your benefit. So just pay a little bit closer attention to maybe the news on the TV. I know some of it can be depressing, but also some of it can be informative, and we'd rather you be safe and secure versus having to put first responders out and challenging their health and safety to protect you. So participate with us in being better prepared in the event of a storm. The forecast, when I looked at what TxDOT or the Weather Service gave us yesterday in a webinar with our emergency management coordinator, David Lilly, the projected route literally looked like a bowl of spaghetti. So they don't know based on all the models, but what we do know living in this area, that if a storm hits, power goes out, water goes up, and you need to be prepared. That's all I would ask. Are there any other public comments? With that, we're going to go to hearing none, we're going to go to consent agenda item number 3, number 4, number 5. 3 is consider and take action to approve the treasurer's list of claims and bills. 4, consider and take action to approve payroll. 5, approve minutes of previous Commissioners Court meetings. Special meeting on June 5th, 2019 at 9 a.m. Workshop meeting on June 5th, 2019, 9:30 a.m. The regular meeting on June 12th, 2019 at 9 a.m. and we have the minutes attached. We've had these for review. So any questions on 3, 4, 5, or comments, Commissioners?
No questions. I move to approve consent agenda items 3, 4, and 5.
Second.
Ladies first. Commissioner Mallett. There's a motion before the court on consent agenda items 3, 4, and 5 by Commissioner Mallett, seconded by Commissioner Walker. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. With court's permission, I'm going to, we have an out-of-towner that on agenda item number 17. I'd like to pull that forward and have that taken care of, and then we'll go back to agenda item number 6. So Mary Ann Waters, would you bring forward agenda item number 17, please? And that's consider and approve contract between City of Garland and Grimes County for pilot, which is payment in lieu of taxes. See attachment number 17.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mary Ann Waters, tax assessor collector. I have with me Ray Shortner, who's representing the City of Garland. I'm going to let him explain, but he's here to offer us payment in lieu of taxes for a transmission line that they have here in Grimes County.
Okay.
Thank you,
Good morning.
Judge, Commissioners. Hopefully here with some good news. Met with most of you and most of the staff before talking about this program that was implemented a few sessions ago by the Texas legislature that allowed municipal systems that own transmission lines like Garland to make payment in lieu of taxes, since we're not subject to ad valorem taxes. And the reason for that is if we own a transmission line and we're exempt, you get no revenue from that, as if Entergy or Mid-South or someone else owned that, they would pay you ad valorem taxes. So this was a way to kind of equalize things amongst the transmission owners within the state, and also to keep local taxing entities whole. So in this particular line, which runs from Limestone up in Leland County down to Gibbons Creek Power Plant, was put in service last year. The portion in Grimes County is about $78,000 a year. And based on the appraisals being, looks like the same this last year, that's about how much money we're talking about. And that would continue as long as there's asset value in that transmission line. Now, if you read the agreement says, and this is the important part of the agreement to remember, what happens in this program is, like all the transmission owners, we receive a transmission rate, and these costs go into our rate, so we recover it from transmission users like every other company. So what we put in here is, if they change the law, if there's some reason that they disallow municipals from collecting these expenses, then we have the right to stop making the payments. And the reason for that is we can't subject the citizens of Garland to pay something we have no way of recovering. But that's really kind of the high level explanation, and I think it's a good thing for the taxing entities, the counties, the school districts, so that they end up whole on this particular asset, and not take a loss just because it's owned by a municipal system. So I'm happy to answer any questions or take your comments.
You saying the line that runs from Limestone to Gibbons Creek is, the valuation is about 78,000?
The
Taxable amount.
the taxable amount, the revenue that you'd receive, basically, about that amount for the county. In this particular line, there's 3 counties involved, 5 school districts, and 2 ESDs. It's about $500,000 total.
I had the privilege of having a one-on-one with Mr. Schwartner, and feel like I have a reasonably good understanding of what this is all about. I don't know how many of the commissioners, when did you get to meet with? None, okay. But we have reviewed our county attorney, Mr. Foltz, has reviewed the contract. He's not for it, he's not against it, but he doesn't see anything that'll hurt or harm us, so is my understanding at this time.
We've addressed my concerns, yes.
Yes, thank you, okay. And Mary Ann, you're comfortable with what you understand about this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
There's no further discussion. I move to approve the contract between the City of Garland and Grimes County for the payment in lieu of taxes.
Second.
Would you add, and having the county judge's signatory?
And county judge's signatory.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 17 by Commissioner Mallett, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there further comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Let me endorse these two. Okay. Today is, yeah, I just said that date, didn't I? All right, Yes, ma'am.
Judge, thank you, Commissioners. Thank you.
Safe travels. Thank you, sir. We'll go back to agenda item order. Number 6 is Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Agent Alan Holman, quarterly interpretation event. Alan? It's good to see you after fair.
Yeah, we survived the fair. Fair was good. Feels like a long time since we've been here and done one of these. It's only been 3 months.
Don't y'all usually bring cupcakes or something when you come?
We usually do, but we got a big surprise for the 4th one, so we'll try to bring something on that.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Go ahead, sir.
We just want to give y'all an update on what we've done the last 3 months. Most of all this, program description, relevance, program results, and county, district, and state level concerns are all the same as it's been the first 2 interpretation events. The only thing that changes is our program response and our pictures on the back. What I mean by that is we change our programs. We're doing different programs all throughout the year to address different issues, make things fun for kids in 4-H and that sort of deal. Programs from those, or pictures from those programs are what we have on the back. We have Deanna Utes with us today. She's a Grimes County intern for the summer. I didn't know if I was going to make it here this morning because I was out doing a site visit, so I was going to let her give the talk. And Miss Carla's going to talk about what she's been doing. I'm still going to hold true even though I'm here. I'm going to let Deanna talk about everything she's done since she started.
Fair enough.
Let her talk.
Hi. I started June 3rd, the week of the county fair, so going right into it, but that's okay. Since then, we've been pretty active with keeping up 4-H activities. June's been a really busy month for 4-H. There's been 4-H Roundup, there's been Leadership Lab, and then the county fair itself. There's all these events that we're promoting to keep the kids involved in, and we've been present at all of them and just making sure that everything runs smoothly. We also hosted a private applicator training the 28th of June for people in the area to get their license, and we are holding another one in August.
How many did you have come for June, do you know?
I want to say, yeah.
Everything?
Yeah.
Are you having pretty good response to your signups on that?
We're having
Overall,
interest already
yeah.
in the next one.
We continue, we do them every month. We try to do them at the end of the month. And overall, for 2019, we've had about 30 people total that have come in and done the training. And so it's overall, it's been a really good program.
Do y'all get any grief now that the state's changed how that works, where you go to the class and then you have to go to another location for the test?
Just from the old timers who let their lives.
What do you mean by old timers?
The guys that were grandfathered into the system that got to go take the training and the test at the extension office.
Yes.
They let their license go, and now they come in there expecting it to all be done in one day, and I have to explain to them it's not the way it works anymore.
Yeah.
And they kind of give me, not in a bad way, they just give me a hard time about why I can't provide the test.
Okay.
It's out of my hands.
But the testing is done up, is there a location in College Station, is that right?
There's locations in major cities like Houston, Waco, Austin, so it's not really, is there one in College Station?
Not
What's the closest one?
Houston.
That stinks.
Waco would have them too. And they give you an option. When you complete the training, the Texas Department of Agriculture will send you a verification number and say, you may now go online and sign up, whether it be in Waco, Houston, this is where the test is going to be offered. What day works for you, that sort of thing.
A lot of their credit recovery now, though, the 15 hours they have to have is online now. They are appreciative of that. They can just do 1-hour courses online instead of having to go across the state to get a 1-hour course.
Well, if you are asked how the old timers feel about the change, let them know it's kind of a negative. Thank you.
I would prefer to do it all in one day, because
That's
it used to
right.
be, we would come in and do the training in the morning, we'd all go out to eat for lunch, and then we'd come back after lunch and we'd take the test and it'd be knocked out. Now
That's right.
it's a long 8-step process that I can see it taking it's
Long
not
time.
almost not worth doing it if you just let it go, to go through all those steps again, to come back and take it, it's almost not worth it.
Okay. I didn't mean to cut you off, ma'am, please, if you have more.
No, I do not.
Okay? All right.
Sure. All right. You got anything? No.
Okay.
Miss Carla was part of the
Okay, so over the past couple of months, I still been doing healthy programs within the community. And also, one of the big programs I did this summer was Senior Day at the Grimes County Fair. And we actually had almost 300 seniors who came this year. And thank you, Judge, for giving out the awards.
Glad to do that.
And also, we had our 4-H food challenge, big time in D9, where all our 4-Hers go and compete in district events. And then for our upcoming, we have a back to school health fair that's coming August 13th. And then we also have a senior day, not a senior day, I'm sorry. We also have a one-day camp that we're gonna provide for ages 8 through 18. It's free, and it'll be from 9 to 4, and we're gonna have both indoor activities and outdoor activities. And food will be provided, and that will be July 25th. So it's for all ages. You don't have to be a 4-H, just for any kids from ages 8 to 18 can come.
And where's that gonna be again?
That is gonna be at the extension office.
Extension, okay.
Part of our recruitment, trying to get kids involved and say, hey, we're having fun in 4-H, come join us.
Good.
And also car seats. If y'all still know anybody with need car seats, I still have some at the office. Thank you.
Really quick overview of some of the stuff we've done, some of the stuff we're doing. A few other pictures on there was a feral hog program that I did back in April. That was really successful. We had 20 to 30 people show up. We had live traps set up outside of the Thomas Ranch, so we looked at those traps and how they worked. We had some people purchase those traps afterwards, so it worked out really well on both ends of that. Another one we had was the 5-hour CEU program, which in the past had been a 3-hour program in this county that was usually done in late January, early February. I couldn't get it on the calendar at that time, so I did it in May, and I said to make up for it being late, we're gonna have 5 hours versus 3. That was very well received. We had over 30 producers come out, and what the 5-hour CEU program is, it's for those ones that have a private applicator license to obtain a quick 5 credits for holding on to that license, so to speak. That was really good. We did that at the Navasota Livestock Auction. It was an all-day deal. We sent them over to the Cow Talk restaurant for lunch. It was buffet style. They loved that. The meal was included in the registration, so a lot of them thought at the end of lunch, they thought, what do we owe you? We say you don't owe anything. They didn't realize that it was built into their registration, so they really enjoyed the fact that we fed them a good home-cooked meal. What else? We got an awards banquet coming up in August for our 4-Hers. That will be on August 11th at the Grimes County Fairgrounds, the main building. That's to recognize what they've done all 4-H year, through the whole year of 4-H. One other thing, it's not off the record, but I remembered that we have a certificate for Judge Joe Falth from a completion of participation or something from the VY Institute through A&M. I've presented Commissioner Dobianski that award, or that completion before. I have the paper at the office. I didn't think to bring it this morning. I just running 100 different directions.
When you bring the cupcakes, we'll just bring that.
We want to say congratulations, though. If I had the paper, I'd hand it to you. But
I do want to make one comment in regards to the feral hog program that you had at Thomas Ranch. One of the ladies I know did end up purchasing one of the traps, and she has captured, last count, I haven't talked to her in a couple of weeks, but she's captured 42 hogs in her one trap alone. Another lady has since, that I know, has since bought the setup, and I know that she's caught over a dozen, so.
it's a very effective method that this man has with these traps. He custom builds them. It's what he does. He sells traps for a living, and it's very effective. He's captured large numbers of hogs.
The traps aren't cheap, but the damage the hogs cause is not cheap either. So.
And he'll do a lease deal too, so it's not necessarily you have to buy a trap. You can have him come out, set the trap up, and you can pay him X amount of dollars to just have it there for 6 weeks and catch hogs, and then he'll take the trap. And that's a little cheaper than purchasing a trap. Okay. Great programs that we've done.
These certificates you're talking about, they issue those certificates after each conference. There's 4 different conferences, and then after the final, you get a final completion certificate.
I don't know that much about them. I just know when we get them in the mail, our boss says go present them at Commissioner's Court. And I know I've presented some to you, and I just was thinking of that when we were standing there. It's like, I've got one there at the office.
He's a graduate. I'm a newbie. I'm only 25% done.
Well, we've got your first one there at the office.
Good.
It's a
Thank you.
very good program.
I'd like to back up to Ms. Carla. You talked about the back to school. This is the cooperation between Texas AgriLife and STAR program, where we supply back to school supplies to the residents of Grimes County, sometimes those beyond. So I did want to say, we've been doing this annually, and we always try for 400 people.
Right.
And so I was asked that question about the school supplies. I want to make sure that we announce that it is for back to school supplies.
Right.
All right, thank you.
And I'll send you some flyers to give out.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
That's everything we have.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the update.
We're gonna go get back to work.
All right. See you next time.
Thank you.
We'll now move to agenda item number 7. Commissioner Mallett, Precinct 1, consider and take action to appoint Mark Fowler as a commissioner on the Iola Emergency Services District, their ESD. Commissioner Mallett?
It's to fill a vacancy that we have on the Emergency Service District. I've spoken with Mark Fowler. He's willing to serve in this role. But it says Flower, but it's actually Fowler.
Fowler. F-O-W-L-E-R. Okay.
F-O-W-L-E-R.
Is that me?
Yeah, I move to appoint Mark Fowler as Commissioner on the Iola Emergency Service District.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 7 by Commissioner Mallett, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 8, Emergency Management Subdivision Coordinator David Lilly and Commissioner Dobianski, Precinct 2, review and approve the final plat for Anderson Ridge Subdivision Phase 2.
Yes, Judge and Commissioners, the developer was trying diligently to get a bond ready for today. They were not able to get that in time, so he said, I told him it would have to be tabled, and he said that's fine, so requesting that we table that to the 17th, or I guess it's the next 24th.
You make that notation, Sheree. All right, sir.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 9, Human Resources Director Lucy Pope. Consider and approve the Code of Conduct Policy, see attachment number 9. Ms. Pope, we've had some discussion on this topic previously. We tabled it, and you're back before us today.
Yes, sir. Judge and Commissioners, I went on and added the wording at the bottom of this policy if y'all decide to go in and improve it. But I did call TAC again, and they were not able to come in today, but TAC told me that their representatives saw this policy and they agreed that we should put it in.
It's a good idea.
I do have a question.
Okay.
I was trying to open something, but it won't open. The line that we added that says department heads and elected officials may only enforce code of conduct policies for employees assigned to their specific department or office. I thought the question that we were trying to address is not who has the right to enforce it, but what are the disciplinary actions?
Okay, so you want to reword
So,
that?
in your policy, you had under discipline, under your discipline policy, you had it worded, you have the discipline, notice of discipline, types of discipline, and then the at-will employment. What would be wrong with adding what the disciplinary action is
Okay,
to the policy? I thought that's what we were discussing.
okay.
Not who would administer it, but what would be the action
Well,
should you not violate the policy?
even a phrase of failure to comply with this policy, employer subject to up to and including termination.
Okay, I can take it.
Does that meet your need, Commissioner? Would that meet your need?
Basically, I think it needs to be outlined what would happen. I don't.
That would be an outline of what's gonna happen if you're notified up to.
You have a form already for discipline, do you
Right.
not? Okay. And then just,
Can you state what you said again?
sure. So where it says, department heads, elected officials may only enforce code of conduct policies for employees assigned to their specific department. Failure to comply with this policy, the employee is subject, the employee can be disciplined up to and including termination. Something to that effect.
Something to that effect.
Yes, I think it needs to, that would work, but
Okay.
I think what you have spoke to who implements it and not what happens.
What happens, okay, I can change that.
So the goal or motivation for this was to be more specific with our policies, is that right?
Right, that is correct.
To possibly
Fight some of these unemployment
leave us on
claims.
better footing.
That is correct.
So a couple of observations that I made about the policy or the code of conduct, obedience to laws, it states in here that employees are expected to obey the law, obviously, in the United States and Texas and those of Grimes County, but I did not find anywhere in here, if we're trying to be more specific, that it indicates that it's a requirement to even abide by the personnel policies. So I think we should probably add that as well. If we're trying to be more specific, if you review the conduct unbecoming, it lists examples and then states, but are not limited to. I don't know how specific that is. Should we be more specific with what those conducts actually are? And then it talks about, in several areas, employees while on duty shall follow the exemplary and reasonable rule of good conduct. Well, what is reasonable rule of good conduct? I don't necessarily know that that is specific enough, if that is our goal to do this. And then I guess at the end of the day, we've had this discussion. Whose policy overrides? Is it the departmental policy or is it the county policy?
I've been told the county policy.
Okay.
Well, it's my understanding from our previous discussion that we were going to take this code of conduct and one, send it to all employees, incumbent employees, and then also make it a part of the new hire process so that when employees come in, they know the rules, or I say the rules, the code of conduct.
That's correct.
Commissioner Cox, the one thing I would say, if we start being too specific on you can get hit for this, 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 and this, people are very creative, so we come up with something that's not on the list that is or could be a dischargeable offense. I think the more we say, the more we're restricted. And it's not that we're trying to run off employees or anything like that, but when bad conduct, whatever it might be, is initiated, we need to be in a position to take action.
And I don't necessarily disagree with
Sure.
you, but I think if the goal of all of this is to be more specific with our policy so that we have some better footing when it comes to employment claims. If we're not with the document that we're supposed to be implementing to solve some of those issues, we're still left in the same position.
Okay.
Perhaps there's still some work to be done on the document, and we can visit with Miss Lucy and look at it a little bit more thorough. Because if you got your types of discipline, you notice the discipline, and it may be that that addresses some of it in another area that you're trying to be more specific in. I'm not sure. I'm just Ms. Trent.
I know you said you attack wouldn't come down or.
No, they were at other counties and they were not able to come in.
Well, since this does affect the elected officials, wouldn't it be good to have a workshop with them before it comes back to the court and we can kind of iron stuff out? Because it's going to involve us like it or not.
I mean, at the end of the day, Judge, I'm just making some observations.
Sure.
But there's still an issue of which policy overrides the other, and differing opinions about that.
Now, your question to that is, if, say, the sheriff department has their own policy and somebody else has their own policy, you're trying to see which one overrides.
Well, it goes back to what Ms. Tran is saying. If we're going to pass a policy and we're going to want buy-in on the policy, I think it's important to have the input from the people that would need to buy into it the most, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to have to enforce it, implement it, and then take action through the Human Resources Department to address any violations or any additions to it.
I think Ms. Trent may have a very good point.
That's fine. If you'll schedule a workshop, invite TAC to join us and set it up, put notice out. Let's put it out for a couple of weeks at least, so that we start hitting the voids in people's calendars.
Well, I've got to get with TAC and see when they can come in, so it might be another 3 to 4 weeks before they can come in, because
Okay.
I know they're so booked up with.
But I would like to stay behind this and let's get it
All right.
let's get it done.
We'll do it.
Okay, thanks. Minutes catch all that? We will then move to agenda item number 10. District Attorney Investigator John Wren, consider and take action to approve auction of used county equipment. Now, I put a question mark because I didn't know what that used county equipment was.
Good morning.
Morning.
My voice is going out from allergies, so y'all bear with me. We have 3 vehicles that are parked behind our office, 2003 Chevrolet Tahoe and 2 2008 Dodge Durango that were previously used in a variety of different capacities, primarily as an investigator vehicle, but they've been used as confidential informant vehicles and for secretaries to go to training, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, all 3 of them are at end of life. We have replaced the 2 primary vehicles in the last 2 budget cycles, and we no longer have need of them, so we want to auction them off. They're all hovering at around 200,000 miles. One of them is not able to be locked, and it is old enough that we can't even get the parts to make it lock anymore, so they need to go. So we're coming before y'all. It's the formality to get consent to auction them off. As far as the proceeds go, they can return to Fund 10 or General Fund, whatever. Our position on that is that y'all have funded the 2 vehicles that we needed, so in return, this money should go back to y'all.
Now, one of them had severe electrical issues, is that
Yes,
correct?
none of them are in good working order. In fact, I dare say we'll have to jump all of them or tow them to move them to auction.
So all of these were purchased, the county bought these vehicles?
I can't tell you that for certain. One of them may have actually been bought through forfeiture money, but it still ultimately falls under the umbrella of y'all have to give us consent to get rid of it.
And also, we've discussed these vehicles
these-
doing budget hearings to
Yes.
see if other departments, if they had any life.
Yes.
And if any other departments could possibly use them. And I think we hear the same story over and over again, that they're just...
I know Mr. Cox entertained one of them a few months ago, and it was determined it wasn't going to work. And I'm sorry, I can't answer your question, but that one's 15 years old, so I don't remember off the top of my head how they purchased that one.
If there's no question, I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
I move that we approve the auction of the used county equipment through the district attorney's office in accordance with state law.
That's second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 10 by Commissioner Cox, seconded by Commissioner Walker. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
How soon will you move those out?
I would have to work with Mike Fitzgerald at the sheriff's office. Hopefully we'll get the auction started in the next few weeks, so
Sounds good.
60 days.
Sounds good. Thanks. Agenda item number 11, Grimes County Clerk Vanessa Brzezinski. Consider and take action to approve the agreement with Profile Technologies, Inc. for the Vanguard Records Management and Imaging System, attachment number 11. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Vanessa Brzezinski. I'm the county clerk, and I'm here to present to you today a proposal from CoFile. We do have a representative from CoFile, Mr. Billy Gerwick, here to answer any questions you may have. This is basically our records management system. This is the system that we use in our office to process all of our daily work, our deeds, our marriage, vitals, birth, death, to record. The company we have been using is currently called Avenue. Avenue, we have done business with them since probably 2005. The current contract we have with them was a 5-year contract that does expire at the end of September. They have yet to produce a renewal contract, and I have asked several times to get one. This company has changed hands probably 4 times over the last 5 years. They were Xerox, then ACS, then Conduit, and now Avenue. We've been having issues with support, and they're not very quick to respond to our requests. We've had several issues with equipment needing to be replaced. Just a lot of variable things that's going on.
Are we still paying them?
I'm sorry?
Are we still paying them, or are we
We
paid
are,
up?
yes, sir, we are. We get billed monthly. And the bills, I gave you some handouts. One of them is a chart of the billing from the last 2 years. And the billing varies based on the volume of documents. It'll say Avenue invoices. So you can see it varies month to month depending on the volume of documents. But basically it averages about $4,000 to $5,000 a month. This proposal that CoFile is offering us is $49.95 a month, and it is a flat monthly fee every month. It will not change. Is that correct?
Actually, it can go down because we do the same thing.
Sure.
We share revenue. So we have an internet option that allows the people to come in and provide e-commerce to the county based on purchasing the documents. So actually the amount can come down. We've seen in installations that we've done, our search is very robust. We have it in Brazos and Burles and some other counties around here, and it has driven up with it. So
Okay,
that
great.
number
That's
can
good to know.
actually, that number can actually come down.
Okay. And they have an excellent website as far as search goes for our public to use, so they can go online, search for any land records. We'll also be able to include marriage records, probate records, anything that's a public record will be included in this search. Currently, right now, this company only offers search for land records.
This company, the one we're using.
Avenue.
Yes, this
Okay.
would be replacing the one we're using. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now,
go ahead.
may I get clarity?
Yes, ma'am.
On the Avenue invoices, this is money that's collected from Avenue that we receive a portion of? Is that what?
Yes, ma'am. If you will notice on,
This
there's a
is
column
not our
that says
invoice
internet
monthly, is it?
rebate. Mhm. And so that's they just
rebate.
deduct that from our bill every month. And that's the revenue that we get from people purchasing and viewing documents online.
Okay.
And
So
they would offer the
internet,
same.
the rebate portion is the portion that the county receives back.
Yes, yes, as a form of a credit. Mhm. And will that be the same
Same
concept,
concept.
Billy? Okay.
What percentage?
Brazos County uses them, and they're very pleased.
What was your question, Mary?
what percentage does the county get back?
What was your answer?
50%. 50%. We would handle all the e-commerce, the credit, we do all the work, so, and then it's just shared revenue. And I think that's currently the time.
Some of the other advantages to going with CoFile is a web-based software, so we would not have a hard server in our office like we have now. It would be cloud-based, just like we have now with the county. We would no longer have to do manual updates, which we are having to do currently. This system would automatically update every night, so we would not have to do any backups. It's all in the cloud, so we don't have to worry about the internet going down. It'll still be, I mean, obviously the internet in the office, but the server would still be running off-site.
Go ahead.
I was gonna ask on your current, on the handout you gave us, Avenue invoices.
Yes, ma'am.
The last year, 2018, the total amount in invoice to Grimes County was $52,547.
Yes, ma'am, that was the data that I got from the treasurer's office.
Okay, so this is comparable, CoFile is comparable to this same amount?
Yes, ma'am.
Cost-wise.
Their total for the year would be $59,940, so it would be a little, but like you said, that's variable based on the revenue.
And they also provide the hardware?
They will provide all of the hardware and the software, yes, ma'am.
Because
The only
currently
thing-
what you have belongs to Avenue.
Yes, everything we have belongs to Avenue, so if we cancel that contract, all of that will go away. And then they will provide the computers, the software, the scanners. The only thing they don't provide is a printer, but Greg has already put in the budget for us to have a printer to be used, shared in the office.
A shared printer.
A shared printer, yes, ma'am.
That was going to be my question. Has Greg reviewed the type of hardware that's going to be coming in if we use these folks?
I think I did share this with him.
She shared the information from CoFile.
I didn't see you there, I'm sorry. Greg?
Yes, my name is Greg Kenneth, I'm Director of IT. I have reviewed some of the information that Vanessa shared with me, and I don't see any problem with the equipment they're going to be using being on our network.
One
And
of the requirements.
Is the amount of hardware that they're providing, or proposing to provide, the same or more or
Actually
less than what
more.
you currently have?
Actually more. Currently, we just have 2 cashiering stations and.
But, okay, so if it's more, do you have room for it?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir, we do. And it will also expand into when we get into the new building.
All right.
Yes.
Mr. Fultz, have you had an opportunity to review?
I did, and I pointed out some things. One I would point out to the court is that this is subject to a 30-day notice to terminate, so you could get out, or the clerk could get out. But the question that I'm not sure that I've got an answer to, if it exceeds $50,000, and is this on DIR? Has this been subjected to competitive bidding? Is this an interlocal? How do we get around that?
We are on TextMass.
What's that?
TextMass, which is the state contract.
Okay.
And also GSA, so we're on 2 state contracts.
Okay, I guess I've not heard of that. Okay. Is it
Are you
equivalent of
familiar with
buy
it?
board? Is
Yeah,
it-
yes, very, yes.
If it's been subjected to competitive bids through the buy board, a similar process to buy board, or it's approved by DRR, which is meaning it's been subjected to competitive bids before, the court doesn't have to subject it to competitive bids. I was just not aware of that.
Okay. And then we do have the option of a 12-month contract or a 60-month contract. And when I read the contract, and correct me if I'm wrong, Billy, but after 1 year, it would just automatically renew every year up until 5 years, is that correct? Okay, but at the same rate?
Yes, yes.
And that would be the advantage to agreeing to a 5 years, that we lock him in to the current rate.
Yes, sir. Any other questions? Is there anything you want to add?
I did ask you a question yesterday, and we talked about Avenue's lack of service, and you also talked about to upgrade the services that they currently offer.
Yes, ma'am.
Would
Yes,
cost you
ma'am.
$20,000 up front.
Yes, ma'am. And actually, I did include that in something that I handed out to y'all. So in order for them to provide the same level of service that we're getting with CoFile, they are offering something that would be an additional cost of almost $1,000 a month in addition to the $20,000 upfront setup fee if we were to stay with Avenue. And those services are already included in what COFAL is offering us in their package.
For the same amount of money,
For the same
comparable
amount of
to the
money,
same
yes,
amount of money. We're not having to pay the upgrade service of $20,000 and then almost an additional $1,000 a month.
Yes, ma'am, that is
Payment.
correct. And they offer something that's called Fraud Alert, which the public can subscribe to that will notify them if any documents have been fraudulently filed under their social security number or their name. It's an option that they would subscribe into. The county is not responsible for that, but it is the service that they provide.
Mr. Gerber, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been with this company?
10 years.
And you have an 832, where's your general location? Where do you live?
I live in Spring.
Do you work out of Spring?
I do.
So we don't have to go to Dallas if we need to beat on you.
It's an hour away.
And they'll also store our microfilm. Right now, currently, all of our microfilm is being stored with ACS. And your facility is in Dallas, is that
Yes.
correct? So they would store our original microfilm. We do still keep microfilm in our office as well. And we have the option to continue putting our records on microfilm, or we can discontinue putting it on microfilm because it's now digital. That would be like a secondary thing. So that's just something that I need to decide, I guess, is what I'm gonna do. But is there a charge to store that microfilm?
No.
Okay.
So what would be the arrangement on how to get the microfilm back from?
That's something that I would have to get with Avenue and get a transfer. You know, someone would have to go pick it up. I don't know if
We'll
y'all,
do that for you.
will y'all do that? Okay. So they'll go pick it up. There'll be like a, you know, they'll sign off saying that it was, you know, have an inventory.
Also, you will maintain, upgrade, and refresh the hardware as part of the contracted services, and that all data and images are the property of Grimes County and are provided upon request to the county or county-approved recipient. So it still belongs to Grimes County, correct?
And I did provide you with a copy of the current 5-year lease agreement that we had with Avenue. And I believe it is a 60-day cancellation notice on that contract. So we're kind of running it, pushing it
Okay,
as far as time goes.
so you would have to send them notice in the immediate future.
Yes, ma'am. And then the other thing that I need to consider, then that's why I'm bringing this toward you now, is because there's a conversion time of trying to get all of our data converted from their system to the new system. And how about long do you think that?
We can get it done fairly quickly.
Okay.
We've converted a lot of Avenue lately. But,
Sure.
It's just them giving it to us.
Okay. Okay.
It usually takes them 4 to 6 weeks to get it to us.
Okay. Have you been
We can
seeing?
do it within a week.
Okay. Oh, that's great. So there's that, which I'm not worried about. I mean, I know it'll get done. And like you said, a lot of people are leaving Avenue because of the lack of service and going to COFAL. And I think they've got a really good product.
I know that was that concern of this is a budget item for the upcoming
Yes, ma'am,
budget.
it is.
But once again, in order to convert, we need to make a decision.
Right, because it says that we will not be billed until we go live. That's correct. And so we'll have this time to get, the transition taken care of, the equipment installed, and it has been budgeted for this next year.
Is there any training involved?
I'm sure there will be, yes, ma'am.
Is that included in the cost?
That is included in the
But you currently have a budget to pay
Yes,
for it.
yes, actually, we had this conversation yesterday. The line item that is in the budget currently was for both Hill Country and Avenue, and now Hill Country is being taken out of Greg's budget, so I actually have a surplus in my budget this year because we didn't use it all. So it will be reduced, my budget will be reduced next year because of that.
Yeah, I asked that question, was Greg aware
Yeah.
that you had the money in your budget?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
You probably already said this, just for clarity on my part.
Sure.
The annual charge to this company, to CoFile, is $60,000.
Correct.
But we would not spend all of that $60,000 because we're going to get a certain amount of rebate on records and documents that the public retrieves, and we get half of that revenue.
Yes, sir.
So is it fair to say, what is your, so the total revenue from Avenue thus far is $3,700, $3,781?
Right, and that's just for the first 6 months. And for some reason, I don't have a figure for May.
Okay. Do we expect more copies to be pulled by the public?
I think so, only because we'll be able to offer more types of documents.
Okay.
Things like marriage records, probate records.
Okay.
And then there's just a lot, with this better search engine, better website, I think we'll get more traffic.
So now with Avenue, it's just really land records, is that
Yes, sir,
correct?
that's correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
So there's a real possibility, we can't spend it till we get it or people use it, but if this doubled, that'd be about $7,400 off of Avenue's bill, but potentially $10,000 off of the $60,000, so.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
Yes, sir.
I understand now, thank you. Are there other questions, commissioners? Hearing no questions, is there a motion?
Yes. I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with CoFile Technologies Incorporated for the Vanguard Records Management and Imaging System. And does it have a signature line from, is it the county judge? And the county judge's signature.
Okay.
It just says Grimes County.
I have one.
You do? Okay.
Second motion.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 11 by Commissioner Walker, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll go to agenda item number 12. Consider and take action on agreement between Grimes County and the Dispute Resolution Center in Bryan, Texas for alternative dispute resolution services. We've had a little bit of discussion on this in the past. Mr. Foltz, you want to update us?
I'd give you the same information today as I gave you last time. The DRC is in agreement with the terms as we proposed them to be. You have funds that are sitting in an ADR account that can't be used in any other manner other than through an ADR system. This is not the only system that would be available. You could create your own. You could use Montgomery County's DRC. Your choice. This just happens to be a dispute resolution center with which I'm familiar. And in fact, I've got a mediation this afternoon at the DRC. That's on the CPS case. So all to say, where we left this in our last discussion was what amount to provide them on a monthly or yearly basis. I think they'll be ecstatic about $1 extra. So I don't think you need to go crazy. And obviously you want to monitor to see what services we're getting from them. I originally, after we first broached this, I talked to all of the judges in the county to ask whether they would be willing to commit to considering, how about that? Commit to considering using the DRC in appropriate cases for mediation. The responses I got were that we will essentially consider every case on its own bottom, as they say, every bucket sits on its own bottom. And so I think that our judges continue to use the DRC, especially when you have pro se folks or indigent folks or folks that are interested in using the sliding scale or the reduced amount or reduced cost that DRC uses. So having it available, I think it's beneficial. I have asked, and our proposed contract indicates that the DRC will do some marketing in the county to let litigants know, or even prospective litigants know, that this is available to them to try to resolve their problems. I will tell you that mediation is, I hate to say this out loud, but it's a trick of the mind. I was once, as a not quite so old dog, taught a new trick, and that is, if you get people in a spot, and they don't have to be in the same room, but you allow them to air their grievances to an individual that they perceive, an arbiter that they perceive has authority, oftentimes being able to get that monkey off your back and being able to tell somebody who listens to you what your problem is, and to hear that person say your concerns are reasonable and valid, oftentimes moves people away from this emotional, unreasonable dispute where they're spending ridiculous amounts of time and effort and money and stress and loss of peace and all those things. They can transition to, how do we solve this? And then if both folks are willing to bend a little bit, oftentimes problems get resolved at mediation. My experience has been somewhere in the neighborhood of 80% or so of the cases that I've gone to mediation on have been settled. So all to say, it is a valuable tool. It will be valuable for the people of Grimes County. We don't have another system to use. It's my recommendation, to the degree that you care about my recommendation, that we utilize this system as ours, and they have agreed to put someone from Grimes County on their board. We talked about that person being me because I'm familiar with the DRC. It doesn't have to be, but I will do all, if the court wants me to serve in that role, I will do all that I can to bring you information about how many Grimes County cases or how many Grimes residents are being are utilizing the services of the DRC on a regular basis. So I don't know if that's a one-year update or whatever that may be, but that's why I'd like to have somebody on the board, is A, to make sure that the money is being used appropriately, but B, also to make sure that Grimes folks are able to utilize that, and that the DRC is making an effort to market that service here.
I would ask Mary if you would remind us how much is in that dedicated fund?
I think it's 83.
83?
And
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. We've quit collecting, so if y'all pass it, we need to start collecting it again?
It'll be up to, the court originally, I think, approved the fee, and so if the court says we don't want the fee to be taken anymore, then we are essentially utilizing that money, and it'll go down to zero, and then it'll be done. Except the county clerk, I assume, continues to charge some fee, whether it's 5 or 15, I don't remember what their number is.
I think it was 5, but we quit charging it because.
Right.
We weren't using it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's a rational decision. I guess to answer your question, it's up to the court. If the court decides that we want to do this on an ongoing basis, once the money is gone, then yeah. But do you want to authorize the fee to continue to be charged at this moment, knowing that we have a surplus sitting in there that won't be used for quite some time?
Oh, and you're saying wait till the money's
Well, I'm waiting for we'll let them tell us.
Okay.
And Ms. Diane, I think that this whole conversation came out of when we were discussing whether you collecting the fee or not. So in terms of what to do with the money we currently have, then do you have a recommendation?
Well, the judge and I kicked some numbers around, but the only numbers that come to mind are just happen to be round. I mean, that's all. I don't know how to tell you a number. The judge had some idea of a number that would get you to a reduction of that 80,000.
I said $1,500 a month, because on the arbitrations they're about $500 a piece, and that would take care or cover our participation for about $5 a month. And if you did $1,500 a month, you're looking at what, $18,000 a year, and you divide 18 into 83,000. We have, about an 8-year, about a 5+ year surplus. So,
well, and I would say on that 500, typically if you hire a private mediator, you're going to pay $500 a party at least.
right.
The DRC charges on a sliding scale depending upon income. The last that I recall, Corey may be able to tell us better, but you're looking at more like the highest number they charge is $100-something, so side, and so their number is far less than what a private mediator would be.
So the number that I had in my head was 1,500, because that would carry us out for a long enough period without having to put more money into it to see if it does indeed work and worth our energy and effort.
And my round number was 1,000. I think they'll choke in happiness on either one of those numbers, to be honest with you.
And that's what I was gonna ask you. I thought I just heard you say, about 500 per dispute.
Mediation, but that was through a private mediator, not through the DRC. The
But through the
DRC,
DRC, it's a lot less.
it is a lot less. And one of the reasons, I'll tell you, one of the reasons is their mediators are volunteers. And so the money that's paid to the DRC is to pay for DRC supplies and the electricity at their facility, which is next to the Eagle on Briarcrest,
And
to pay
advertising.
for their supplies. And they have 1 or 2 staff members, but it's a nonprofit, and so the dollars aren't going in any pockets of the board members or anybody who's making any money other than the salaried staff. But the volunteers that are mediators, sometimes one will serve, sometimes they'll even have 2 folks come in and serve as mediators. But that's why they're able to reduce that cost, is they're not paying their mediators.
So what if we went with a little bit lower amount, like 1,000, and then we could stretch it a little bit further, what we do have, if they're only,
I would entertain your motion at this time. Or
okay.
What is, what kind of rates, I mean, I guess what kind of were we monthly generating from those fees? There's no,
Right now, with what the county clerk is collecting, it's not very much.
It's about $300 and something, a little over $300.
$300 a month?
from the clerk?
No, probably annually.
Oh, annually.
I think so, really?
If you look on the deal that I gave y'all, the trial balance for that, you'll see the figures.
And those funds that are in that, the money that's in that is dedicated money and can only be used for
That's it.
the dispute resolution.
So it's just sitting there rotting until we do something with it.
But if it looks like it's something we can use and start charging those fees again, then if we're giving,
Makes sense.
I figure we try to give the amount that we're, what we generate, but.
Yeah, and I believe the contract says that we'll continue to collect those fees, and I think Vanessa is collecting them, and if we would like for Diane to, she'll have to resubmit her court costs for approval, I think, is how.
Well, I'm confused now. I was told to quit collecting.
That's
Why
right.
did they keep collecting it and I quit collecting? That kind
Well-
of doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and I'll just say that when there was no system in place, it was a question of why is the fee being collected of litigants in Grimes County if it's to benefit litigants in Grimes County, and we weren't necessarily promoting or utilizing the DRC. Now, the DRC takes all comers, and so they've taken folks from Grimes County for a long time. And so maybe you look at it as though we should have been paying them for a while for the system we were using. But essentially, this becomes your system, and you're endorsing the system, and you're saying use the DRC. And now you potentially have a board member who's looking to be sure the DRC is treating Grimes County folks the way they need to be treated. So when we found this issue, it made sense to say, let's put on hold the collection from litigants in Grimes County. And it may, I don't know that it's a fee that comes out of criminal defendant costs, but I know it comes out of civil litigants costs. So it was, I think the appropriate thing to do is say, until we get a hold on this, we may need to stop taking this. And I think that's what the district clerk heard from you all. I don't know that there was a mandate to do that, but I think it was the right thing to do that. It certainly wasn't harmful. The numbers that Corey is showing me, this says county and district, 2000, is this right? Yeah, okay. So 2018, looks like the county clerk collected $905 and the district clerk collected $4,335. So been collecting somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000 for several years. $4,000 or $5,000 per year, sorry.
Before the district clerk quit collecting for this fiscal year, she collected $3,819. And as of to date, the county clerk has collected $547. So we're sitting at $4,300 for the year.
So if you know, when it becomes a going concern, if it does in the future, that'll be $4,000 to $5,000 a year, which then you may want to adjust, that's how much you're giving the DRC per year, $4,000 to $5,000, which would not exceed $500. I mean, you're talking about something that's $200, $300, $400 a month brain.
Is it gonna hurt the DRC if we start out giving them $1,000 or $1,500 a month, and then 4 or 5 years we cut back what we're giving them?
Do people get spoiled once they get the taste of money? Yes, the answer is yes. So do you want to, how about we give them $5 and work them up to $300? You do whatever you want to do. I believe this is policy. I'm putting it here loud.
Sounds good. You want to make a motion?
Yes. I'd like to make the motion that we enter an agreement with Grimes County and the district and the Dispute Resolution Center in Bryan, Texas for alternative dispute resolution services at a monthly amount of $1,000. Would we then add our representative at this time, since that is not?
I would ask to include that, yes, please.
And I would like to ask that we add our own county attorney, John Fultz, as the representative for Grimes County.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 12 with modifications or specificity of $1,000 a month, and also adding County Attorney John C. Foltz as a board member, and I would assume they have to approve you
Correct.
as a board member.
Correct. They told me the board is okay with that, but they're going to have to take action.
Sure.
I'm going to let the staff know when I'm there this afternoon what you all have done.
Sounds good. And so there's a motion by Commissioner Walker, seconded by Commissioner Cox. Is there further discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 13, consider and take action to review, modify, or terminate interlocal agreement with City of Iola regarding services for on-site sewer facilities, attachment number 13. And the modification to this interlocal agreement is?
Judge and Commissioners, I'm sorry, this is still mine. You all considered this previously. This was to add environmental and investigation to the interlocal with Iola and have the DR's office do those investigations. You approved an interlocal, or modified interlocal, because the previous had expired. You approved that. City of Iola had an opportunity to meet to discuss the proposed changes, I think, and they responded by submitting their own proposal. It includes one paragraph, I think, of change, and essentially the heart of the change here, the essence of the change, is two. They're proposing, one, they not pay the full fee if upon the initial investigation it's determined there's no validity, that they would only reimburse the county for travel time of the DR. As I recall, it's just travel time. I just saw it this morning. And then secondly, that the mayor or city council would be entitled to be made aware of the status or the investigation as it was ongoing, as I recall. So they've made those two proposed changes. The email I saw, and I just saw it this morning, Mayor, and so I apologize, but I think their city attorney is the one that drafted the language that's been now included with that proposed modification. I don't know that you all have seen it. I just received it, but we put it on there before that came back. We didn't know it was coming back with changes. We put it on there for the court to reconsider after I think further development since the last time it was before the court.
Commissioner Mallett, this is up in your precinct. Do you have any thoughts?
I haven't necessarily seen the changes.
All right, let me just read them to you if that's okay.
And the mayor's also here. Good morning.
Yeah, I'll read you. This is the same one that you previously approved, but their request is, after the discussion of the $200 fee per nuisance complaint, they've added this language. However, in the event an investigation of a nuisance complaint by the performing party's designated representative does not produce evidence sufficient to confirm the existence of a public nuisance under the Texas Health and Safety Code, section 341.011, or there's no reasonably feasible resolution to the situation, and that determination is made during or after the initial inspection by the performing party, then the receiving party shall only be responsible for paying the performing party the amount necessary to reimburse the performing party for the actual mileage traveled at the prevailing IRS rate to and from the complaint location in the town by the performing party's designated representative in investigating the unconfirmed nuisance complaint. Further, upon request from receiving party's mayor, the performing party's designated representative shall provide updates to receiving party's mayor regarding pending nuisance complaints.
That's saying just mileage, not hourly.
Right.
That would only be in the case of if someone files a complaint and they initially, I think the process is they go there and they inspect it.
Right.
Well, if they get there and they have a fully
It's
compliant,
compliance.
well, or a good working aerobic system, many of the yards aren't compliant. But if they have an aerobic system that can't be improved, that then we would just reimburse the mileage. That's only in that scenario. And the updates would only be if we need one. I'm not going to call and demand an update.
Okay, something you just said, if they got there and the aerobic system was not in working order, is that what you said?
If it is in working order.
If it is?
If it is, and there is no further action needed. That is just a safeguard. I know we went from one, to my knowledge, there are 7 complaints. I do not know if there have been any more, but I know that it was a concern with the city council that when people are angry about the complaint against them, that they might file a false complaint. This is just to cover a false complaint.
I don't think our county employees should be going out and inspecting without getting paid for it, because we are paying them.
The personnel hours were overlooked, yes.
Okay.
I guess my question is, if we've got a interlocal with BDIs, and we don't have it all broke down, and we don't know what those numbers would be in terms of travel and hours, and it seems like it's a very complicated matter. Maybe I didn't hear correctly all in that you're reading, but are we treating would it be fair to say we need to treat all cities the same?
That would be a policy for you to implement, but it makes sense, and you always have equal protection issues, but in this case, it's not equal protection of individuals, it's whether you want to treat municipalities the same, and whether you perceive them as fledgling municipalities, et cetera. It is up to the county. Understanding, of course, all residents of Iola are residents of Grimes County. It's a tax burden shift. I say that all the time. Instead of Iola saying we're going to implement and we're going to have a tax base and we're going to pay for these things in Iola, we're asking the county through its tax base to provide that for Iola. You have to ask the question, how far do we go and how fair is this to the people in Navasota? How fair is this to the people in Plantersville? How fair is this to the people in BDAS? How much do we need to do for various fledgling cities when all of them can say, hey, we're residents of the county and we pay county taxes? Well, you also have county obligations that are not within municipalities, like, let's say, roads. So you have things, obviously, that you've got to balance your budget and decide what you can and can't do. If you're asking my opinion, I think $200 is a minimal fee, and to ask $200 per complaint and to not have to be in your record keeping about doing a Google map about how far it is to get from here, there to yonder, or how much time did they put in on it, I don't know. And I know Iola has a limited tax base. I got it, I get it, but I'm thinking to myself, $200? I mean, that sounds to me like, for record keeping, that makes it really dang simple. You're going to send a complaint to the county, it's going to be $200. Not, we're going to figure out from Google how far it is from here to there and how many hours or minutes we got into it.
This is only for protection from invalid complaints. We should not have to pay $200 if the complaint was a false complaint made out of anger.
I understand, but the county shouldn't either, Mayor.
Okay, understood.
at the same token, when you go out to other areas and you get complaints, they've agreed to pay the amount, so.
PDAS has a wastewater treatment plant, they won't have very many complaints. This is out of concern for the way this situation, the specific situation is unfolding. As far as I know, we still only have 7 complaints, is that correct?
And if I
They have
recall,
calmed down, we've made it very clear that there's gonna be a fee to take care of complaints, and apparently no one else has turned one in. And it would be at your discretion to decide, it's up to Mrs. Lee if it's a valid complaint or not. It's not our decision.
since we last discussed, Ms. Lee, did you get any phone calls on complaints?
We had inquiries about how to file complaints.
Okay, so how
from a
many
citizen
active
inside the
do you
city.
have now?
Right now, we have 7. I believe 7.
7 active complaints. And I guess since our last discussion, and I'm saying this because they were kind of confused, did we, was this interlocal terminated based upon the action we would take today?
I think previously, this court terminated the existing interlocal, and it was a desire to put them all together, 911, law enforcement, all those things, and the court approved that and sent it over to Iola. Iola is saying, here's our counter, and that's where we are. My understanding is, we don't have an interlocal in place at this time.
So this would include.
I let the time lapse. I didn't get the document back in time.
Okay, because I don't have a document at all from Iola. What we're looking at is from BDIS. That's all we have in front of us.
Well, I don't know what you got as
That's
part of the
example.
packet this time, yeah. I thought we revised it and you saw it last time when you approved it. And if you don't, it's fine, I mean, we can reset it or if you want it, you can even recess it now.
Well, I think it's a concern. We've been kind of kicking this can like this thing for quite some time. And I think one of the concerns that was raised, Mayor, out of the last time, and I think you raised the point about interference and about the designated representatives feeling not threatened but harassed when they go out to do the inspections. There was a concern there, and you spoke to that point, so do you recall what I'm talking about?
I do recall what you're saying. There's been some friction between the city and the county's employees. There's no question about that. I think everyone in this picture is frustrated by people who would make complaints on their neighbors for things that weren't valid. And so nobody wants to see any taxpayer resources used for that. And one would think that there would be a way to turn that into a crime, especially if we use law enforcement to take the report. But having said that, you all as a county, or as the county's governing entity, have decided in the past what level of assistance you're going to give to, and I've termed them fledgling cities. I don't know why, I don't know what else to call them. I don't want to say something that somebody characterizes as disparaging. So you all have decided what assistance to give. You also have the ability to say, we're not going to give any. And if you believe that it's a circumstance is a detriment to your people, your employees, your personnel, is putting them in a situation where you don't want them to be, you certainly have the right to say, we're not going to do that.
The email I got from you guys, I think yesterday, on the showers and outhouse and all of that business, was that up in Iola?
It was in the Iola area, but it was not inside the city.
Okay, so outside?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
That's all right, I was just gonna share. I got a report of our DRs went out and made an investigation on a complaint of a outhouse, and they wanted to check and make sure that the outhouse was functional, being pumped or taken care of and all of it. And ultimately, after our DRs got out there, what it was a tool shed that was painted to look like an outhouse. So, but I can understand if that was in the city limits of Iola and somebody has complained, I can see where that would be a rub for you guys to pay a $200 fee when it was just I won't call it ridiculous, but not a real complaint, okay?
So the mayor is absolutely justified in her position. Her job is to look after her city.
Sure.
Her job's not here to look out for the county, and I get it. And so, but at the same time, you could say, look, to all cities to any cities that were under this type of arrangement, this DR is being provided at a cost. And the alternative for the cities would be to obtain their own DR.
Yeah.
And so that cost is going to be a heck of a lot higher than $200 per complaint.
Oh,
I
sure.
assure you.
Yeah.
I would love some information about that. We have someone that was willing to do so in case y'all decided you didn't want to provide the service anymore. And we're not trying to ask y'all to do this for nothing. We overlooked personnel hours, probably should have been written in there. It was overlooked. This is, we talked about this at 2 different meetings, and this is how the council felt comfortable going forward. They didn't mind paying $200. We know is not an outrageous amount. And I have not called and bothered your environmental office since the last meeting.
Did the
I've
city,
not reached out at all.
did the city council vote on these changes? Is that
Yes.
what you're saying? So if they voted on these changes, that's their position. How do we handle that? If, I mean, I'm just saying.
That's the proposal to you. That you essentially said, we're agreeing to the agreement that looks like BDI's agreement. And you sent that to them, and they made a counter. That's where we are.
Back when we made the agreement with BDI's, the hours were figured into that amount when Marissa set that rate, and that's where we set it at when we did that. So the hours are built into that $200 per inspection, whether
Yeah, we
it's
explained that.
legit.
There were 2 council members that we really had to explain to.
Yeah.
You know, there's fees that y'all, money that y'all are paying to help us with this.
Sure.
So what I hear you saying, Mayor, now that we don't have an interlocal with you all have someone that's willing to step up and do your DR.
We haven't investigated how long the school is, how much it costs, but someone had said, that if that's what it comes to, he would step up.
Well, with that being said, we also asked the question from TCEQ of where we are now, because we weren't really clear on some matters. Ms. Lee, could you speak to, even if they don't have a city DR, what happens? Is TCEQ then responsible?
The complaints when they come in, if they come in through the state TCEQ, we would not have an interlocal agreement. As the first complaints from Iola came through the state and trickled down to our office through the Waco office, those complaints would then stop at the Waco office, and that they would be investigated by a TCEQ employee from the Waco office if the city of Iola did not have a DR.
So that's currently really where we are, right? Because we don't have an interlocal, that's kind of where we are.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted clarity on that because we were questioning, where are we,
I believe for our grant, we would have to have a DR.
You would have to have a
So
DR.
I think to be
The grant,
eligible-
what grant are we talking about?
The same ones we've been working on for 10 years. We are moving forward with a loan because we did not get funded through EDAP this last time. We discussed all that, excuse me. Texas Water Development Board has it on their September board meeting agenda for the commitment of the funds for the design portion. EDAP was funded in the legislature this last time. It'll be on the November ballot, I believe, as a constitutional amendment. The funds from that, should we score high on that, would not be available for 2 more years. So we're gonna move forward with the loan. We've already projected our budget for when that payment starts, and we'll be really tight, but we can do the one loan.
So you're talking about 2 different, you're talking about a grant. You got a grant first, right, didn't you?
We've been working 2 programs.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, we've been working 2, because EDAP have information on EDAP. It's only been funded 3 times in the last 3 years. And 2 of those times, we scored high last time. The one time we've been incorporated, they did fund us the beginning portion. And then the next time, we just didn't score high enough. We were 6 and the top 4 got the money. But this is, they're talking about funding it with a much larger amount this time. So we're hoping that when design is done with the loan from Clean Water State Revolving Fund, that about the time design is done, hopefully we've received EDAP funding determination again.
And the EDAP is to build.
Yes.
The facility.
We'll be ready for construction, and that would be, there is some payback amount at times, but they look at your finances and see if you can.
Okay,
That
so
hopefully
where
will
were
be-
we when we first implemented this? This was all based upon you all getting a system done. Where were we at that time? Did you receive funding at that time, at the same time that BDI's got their funding and moved forward?
We received the planning portion
Uh-huh,
about 10 years ago,
uh-huh.
and aerial survey was done, a bunch of planning was, the planning is done.
Mhm.
And we just haven't been funded again since. We've been actively working towards it, but it's taking its time.
So just to be clear, you received funding for the design already?
Planning.
For the planning. Now you're pursuing design?
Design.
Okay, and then you have to take a loan for construction.
No, design is the loan. Construction will be the, hopefully the grant.
Okay. The grant, okay. So meanwhile, since there is no water system there, or no sewer system, there is quite a few complaints that have filtered out of that. And once it kind of started snowballing a little bit, and you all said, when you last stood here, that was before you went to your council, that you didn't have a problem with paying the 200. But the council came back with terms to us on how they would then pay the 200. I think, Commissioner Mallett, I think Iola should be treated the same as BDI's, the same as Plantersville, the same as any other area. From what you read, and I'm gonna get you to read again because I want to hear it again.
Please don't.
It makes it complicated on how to.
It's a lawyer. I'll tell you, it's simple enough. If it doesn't pan out to be a real deal, they only get billed for the travel time. That's what it says. Or the other option, the other thing that's added, so they added 2 things. The other thing is that if the mayor wants to request an update to the investigation, the mayor has the right to call for that.
The council was very offended that we were told to butt out, pay the 200, but butt out. If I have a citizen that needs an answer to a question, I should be able to ask that question.
I think you've had that ability all along, reading the emails that I read. You
I
had
did,
that.
and at the last commissioners court meeting, we agreed that I would not ask any questions until the end of an investigation.
They would report to you the findings
Yes,
and
they
stuff
have.
like
I
that.
think there were 2 maybe that have been resolved, and they've reported that to me.
Yes, ma'am, but as far as the
If I have a citizen come to
inspection,
me and ask me a question and I don't know the answer, I need to be able to ask them.
but as far as the inspection and people from the council showing up at the inspection, I mean, that was,
That happened at 1, and that was not anything to do with city council, that was, her friend was there. I don't know why that happened. We have not harassed them.
okay. Well, RDRs, and the reason why I speak to this is because a lot of times we discuss, I act as their liaison, so they bring me their issues and we talk about
Y'all
it.
should come talk to me about it too,
Well, we have talked to you about
in
it.
here.
And we've emailed you, and that's why I say you're being updated, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so as far as the inspection, is it that you feel like you need to be at the inspection?
No.
So what are they talking about on city council that the mayor has to?
Well, okay, as far as I know, we have 7 complaints.
Yes.
I think that the process is, if you receive a complaint, I get an email about it. okay?
Mhm.
I had a citizen come to me and tell me that he turned some more people in. Can't I call them and ask them, hey, did you get any more complaints? I've been told
She
to
says
sit
yes.
and listen to email and keep my mouth shut.
No,
Let's
she's-
just be
she's-
plain about it.
Would you like to speak to Ms. Lee?
I mean, I don't have a
We
problem.
get a complaint, when we get a complaint, we send out the email
Right.
to you, to the judge, to let them know that we get a complaint.
So if someone calls me
As
and
soon as
said,
we get one, we send it out, letting everybody know, hey, we got a complaint.
Okay.
And a lot of those are, all of them are, most of them, are anonymous complaints. So
and we have been
we don't know
trying,
who turns them in, we don't know, all we can say is we got a complaint.
we were trying to determine how some of those funds could be reimbursed. But if a complaint is anonymous, then you can't. Anyway, I need help.
Well, it makes it a couple.
And I feel like at this time, let me tell you what, I feel like if we speak up or ask too many questions or say we're not satisfied with something, it's all just a problem. I don't feel like there's communication and help going on. I was told Joe wanted to help us. We're agreeable. We need your help. We can't afford to do all this ourselves.
But I just heard you say you have someone that's willing to do the work.
We're gonna look into it.
Okay, Ms. Lee?
Kat, what's the cost on this?
Yes, the class is right around $500, and your license fee, your renewal for your license is $111. And there's a class, because I have an employee that we're looking at sending, there's a class in August, and there's a class in December.
How long is the class?
The classes are 4 days, and it includes your tests that you must pass in order to get your license.
So it might end up being cheaper for our,
Oh, we're aware, we've discussed it. At $200, if people went crazy, this could run into the fastest.
and they just may go there.
Real fast. That's the only reason we put that little clause in there, was to safeguard against invalid complaints. And it is, the DR's call whether it's invalid or not. It's not like we as a city council can say, oh, never mind, we don't have to pay you for that one. That's not our intention. We're trying to work with you to keep this in place. If it's not gonna work out, we'll do what we have to do.
At 7 complaints we have very many of them been declared invalid.
I don't think so.
None of them have been.
They've all been valid complaints.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you were paying 200 times 7, that's $1,400, that already exceeds the amount you would
Right,
pay.
but we have felt it's fair.
But-
We know that y'all are using personnel time and, personnel hours and travel, we're aware of that. That's a fair fee.
So I guess my recommendation is if you don't want to sit under the same terms as all the other entities that are willing to sit under them, I mean, maybe DR, your own personal DR for the city would be a better route to go, because right now you don't have anything in place, so whatever complaints that come in now would filter out of Waco and not from Grimes County. So right now you don't have an interlocal at all, and to put a bunch of stipulations on it to where we've got to now figure in
It's not a
time.
bunch of stipulations, it's not bad at all.
You're just paying mileage, ma'am.
Travel reimbursement, if they have to travel
that's-
to Iola, okay.
Say we
I
get
see your
50
point. We let
complaints.
personnel hours out, yes, we
Yes.
did.
Say we get 50 complaints from the area. Not only are you traveling several times to take care of the complaint, because you got to go out and investigate it, then you've got to go back and rectify it, and some of them, from my understanding, are going to be very complicated to rectify.
And we would pay $200 for those.
But look how much time is involved.
Right.
You
I'm
know.
only saying, if they get an email.
And you're
I
only
don't know
paying
the whole-
$200. That's where I'm going. My point is, look how many times they're going, coming back, manpower, going and coming back, and you're only paying $200, but you're putting a lot of stipulations on the $200. for complaints that have not been invalid. Every complaint almost
So
has
far.
been valid. and-
So far, yes.
And some of them are
Seems if we want to safeguard.
up to the citizens,
Our taxes a
to,
little, we're out of line. Just go ahead and move forward.
no, what I'm
Do
saying
you
is
wanna
some
do.
of them,
I understand. I understand.
I'll let you finish.
I understand. I'm not dumb. I get it. This is how our council was comfortable.
Okay, I'd like to speak back to, some of them are kind of complicated to rectify.
Right.
So how much time do we tie up into trying to rectify the complicated matters that they have to keep going back on? Some of them are not on their property, they don't even have enough room to put in a system.
Well, then there's no solution. There won't be any more time spent. Because there's not a solution. The only really compliant solution to most of this is the sewer system.
And which we started on 10 years ago.
Yes.
And we haven't gotten anywhere.
I know, I have failed, yes.
Kat?
Yeah, well, speaking to the not having a solution, there are places where the only solution is a holding tank, and the people can't afford that. But in our office, we still have to move forward with
Yes.
the process, which is
Yes.
taking legal action against that property owner. So it just doesn't go, okay, there's not a solution here, so we're done. It has to move through the whole process.
We are talking about only if you get there and there's an aerobic system that is working fine, and so you have to come back and type up aerobic system, great. That's it. That's the only time we would say, hey, okay, we don't pay that $200. It's just a safeguard.
Well, I get what you're saying, I fully understand what your position, but at the end of the day, when Ms. Lee goes to get in her truck, she doesn't know whether it's a
Yes.
valid complaint or
Yes.
not. And
Yes.
it still takes manpower and time.
Sure. She has to go down there and look at it, yes. To the location, yes.
So we have an agenda item that says, consider and take action to review, modify, or terminate interlocal agreement with City of Iola regarding services for on-site sewer facilities. Is there a recommended
My concern
motion?
is that it's in with all of the others. So I don't know how, if y'all would just strike that portion if you don't want to do it anymore, or what, but
It's already terminated, is that my
Well,
understanding?
my recollection, and it's just my recollection, but my recollection is that we terminated the previous interlocal for OSSF stuff because we were going to incorporate those into the one for 911, law enforcement, et cetera. And then we drafted that, and Corey tells me we didn't circulate that after the meeting. You requested that we do that, but we didn't circulate that because we hadn't met on it since the meeting. But the other one continues to exist, the one with 911, law enforcement, et cetera. And so we were trying to put them all together, and you approved that, but without the other side's approval, it goes away. You never terminated the one for 911, law enforcement. Okay, and she's saying, yes, we did. So maybe you
all in
did.
one document.
It was all in one document?
Yeah, I thought the previous two were separated and just terminated one.
Yeah, the original interlocal agreement for the DR was back in 2012.
Right.
That's the one I thought.
Yeah, I
was
think Corey's
terminated.
mistaken.
Right. It was a separate one that spoke to, just like BDI's back in 2012, it was a separate one that just spoke to the DR.
Well, I'm kind of confused at this point how we enter into an agreement when your city council has taken action on the
Well, if you don't agree to those
additions.
terms, then you tell us you won't agree to it.
Y'all go back to the drawing board.
Go back and, I mean, if you want us to approve it without the change, you tell us approve it without the change, we'll stay in it, and we'll have to consider that. I mean, sure, y'all's decision.
Did we originally approve the
You-
preliminary based on what, if the city of Iowa would approve it or not?
You approved the consolidated one that was sent over to them that came back with this change, correct? Now, keep in mind, it has this 30-day termination, so anybody can get out even after it's executed. It's not like it's a forever type of deal. I'll say this for a little bit of levity. Corey suggested, and I snickered a while ago, and it wasn't about y'all's conversation. She said, you know, the DRC is available.
Moving right along.
It's not my area. We typically talk to people about their areas, but since we have terminated the interlocal and we did submit the same application, the same interlocal that we submitted to all the other areas, then I would say we stick to that. I would make the recommendation that we stick to the interlocal that we submitted to everyone else and submit it back to the city without the changes and leave it up to them whether they decide.
That's your motion?
And I'm just speaking to Commissioner Mallett. I want to give him an opportunity.
Well, I mean, we've already approved it once. I mean, do we have to re-approve?
That was the 911.
I think you approved consolidating all of them with taking in the DR language, with the $200 fee. That was sent to them with an expectation that they would review it and approve it. They've now said, we look at this, we want to add these other things. So it's a counteroffer that's back on your table. You can say, we don't agree to the modifications, but the original proposal is still on the table.
Do we need a motion for that?
You don't have, or you can take no action. The thing is, an
We'll keep it
offer.
the same as what it was.
So a contract requires offer acceptance and consideration. But an offer typically only remains open for a reasonable amount of time. The question is, has that amount of time been reasonable? If you wanted to say for certain in your motion and say to the council, this is still on the table, you could make a motion to do that. If you wanted to say, we're tabling this, we're not taking any action, then there's still the question of, if it comes back from them approved, has the offer expired? Has it been sitting out there for too long? That's up to you. I haven't heard anyone say the offer is retracted.
Okay. Well, I move to keep the interlocal agreement the same as previously approved and sent to the city of Iola for approval.
Is there a second?
I second it. I do have this question.
Okay,
Meanwhile.
well, I'm going to get to that in just a second. I have a motion before the court on agenda item number 13 by Commissioner Mallett, seconded by Commissioner Walker. Are there any other questions or comments?
I do. So just to be clear, I'm just trying to get some clarity, make sure. So 911 services, none of those things are now in effect until we hear back from the council?
I didn't recall terminating that interlocal. Corey's recollection is different than mine. It really comes down to.
Yeah, I thought
it was just DR.
Yeah,
That's my recollection.
That's what I thought we were going to send in
So this is
modify
for
that include the DR. with
the
it.
DR portion.
Correct.
Okay.
And if not, you're saying, my understanding is that you're, without taking action on that, it not being on the agenda, that if pushed or asked about that, your understanding is that interlocal is still in place.
Okay.
That's what I'm hearing you say.
Thank you.
Mayor, you made the comment also that you all are trying to put a stop to all of these complaints. What action have you all taken to do that?
We've fielded a lot of questions about it, and everyone knows that it's detrimental to the overall goal.
Right.
We had discussed passing that $200 on to the person that was involved in the complaint. Sometimes the complaints are anonymous, so you can't pass that on to that person. And we decided that it would best be to the best interest of the citizens that the money come out of the taxpayers' money. Because those people did not ask for that complaint to be filed against them. So to say you owe us $200 because you had a complaint filed against you just seems a little harsh.
The other concern that I have in this issue is and I visit with the DR's office quite frequently because I go to Road and Bridge quite frequently. And I'm concerned for our employees up there because of some of the the things that they tell me that's happened up there.
In Iola,
Yes.
I had no idea they were treated badly. Last I spoke to them, they were being treated nicely. Did we get another complaint and this one went bad, or, I mean, we don't encourage that. Did they have someone chew them out or threaten them or what? I mean, what happened?
Would you all like to speak to that?
We had, while out doing investigations, we've had people in vehicles, the same vehicles, not the same vehicle each time, but while we're out investigating and then outside speaking with the person that the complaint was filed against, we'll have vehicles circling the block the whole time that we're there. They just keep circling the block that we're on. That's happened twice since we've been out. My employees was in our, going through town. I called them, they pulled over off of the road into a business that was not open. Took my phone call, and 4 people came out to the side of the road a little bit further up and stood there and watched the whole time that they were on the phone with me. Made them feel very uncomfortable. And the part is that our trucks look just like Road and Bridges truck. And those trucks go up and down Highway 39 all the time. So for ours to be kind of singled out like that is kind of unnerving.
I don't know why anyone would do that. And we certainly, as a city council, can't control crazy citizens. I don't know that they were looking, I don't know what to say to that.
Okay. That's a little bit off of where we're at on this. I have a motion before the court by Commissioner Mallett, second by Commissioner Walker. Is there further discussion or comments? We'll take this to a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carries. Agenda item number 14. This is going to be tabled by request, and we'll talk about this at the budget workshop that's scheduled for next Wednesday. Going to agenda item number 15, Road and Bridge Engineer Harry Walker, consider adoption of resolution related to TxDOT Bridge Program pertaining to CR 201, 215, and 412, and authorize the county judge to submit letters of request for waiver of 10% local government participation amount for these projects. Mr. Walker.
Good morning, everyone. This is the next round of TxDOT's bridge replacement program. TxDOT has identified 3 bridges in the county for replacement in the future. They're on a 5-year cycle, so these projects are set for 2023. It includes County Road 201 at Mill Creek, County Road 215 at Bums Creek, and County Road 412 at Grassy Creek. TxDOT's program calls for a 10% participation by the county. The documents in front of you, TxDOT has waived that participation in regard of alternative bridge replacements by the county. Rather than us writing a check to TxDOT for our 10%, they allow us to replace other smaller bridges that are in bad shape. That's the same program we've used for a number of years. It's quite effective for the county. The other part of this package is that TxDOT has designated Grimes County as an economically disadvantaged county and reduced that 10% participation down to 6.8%, I believe it is. So our participation amount goes down. The equivalent matching projects, which are the projects we have agreed to do, to satisfy that matching component, includes County Road 323 at Beeson Creek, County 204 at Small Creek, and County Road 112 at one of the tributaries of Beat Ice Creek. Are there any questions? I'll be glad to answer.
Okay. Just to be clear, you're saying 20 County Road 1,
The EMP projects
Yes.
or the bridges?
the portion that we're going to do,
Yeah, our commitment is for County Road 323 at Beeson Creek, County Road 204 at Small Creek, and County Road 112 on one of the tributaries of Beat Ice Creek.
and that's our participation in the match, that we would be replacing these bridges.
Yes.
And the other bridges remaining are, the three on the front is what TxDOT is.
Yes, 201, 215, and 412 are the bridges that TxDOT is going to handle.
You said a different number, just to,
412? It's a little confusing because
okay.
TxDOT has
Location.
county road numbers that are different than our county road numbers. So you gotta be careful. The LCR numbers are our actual county road numbers.
Okay.
County Road 201 at Mill Creek. County Road 215 at Bones Creek, which that's the first small bridge east of 1774. And then County Road 412 at Grassy Creek, which is the bridge north of 105, between 105 and 407. Now, I will also add, I have had some discussions with TxDOT, and there's a possibility that the 201 bridge may get moved up to 2021. So that would be worthwhile. And you may recall, the 2015 GLO grant application included that same 201 bridge. We have chosen, because the grant application was based on a Grimes County style bridge, steel piling and a less expensive, less permanent bridge. We have decided that we would prefer to have the TxDOT bridge. Those approvals both came in basically at the same time. We just have to wait a little longer for TxDOT to get there to build it.
So-
TxDOT is an all concrete bridge. They're 40, 50-year lifespan, whereas ours would need significant work in less time than that.
So what is the timeline for the bridges that you will replace?
If we left it in the grant project, it would have to be done by the end or by September of next year.
Okay, so 123, the projects that we're gonna do the match on, what's our timeline?
The matching projects, we actually have 3 years after TxDOT's complete. We don't have to do those anytime in the near future. My approach has been, we want to stay ahead of this. If we're committed to do this, we'll go ahead and do those bridges this next year. And that's what my budget has been built on as far as the special projects for next year.
So 2020?
2020, yes. We're up to date on our EMP projects, so we don't have a backlog of those to do. I just assume stay ahead of it.
Where are we on that 202 bridge?
202, I have the plans on my desk. That's in the grant project. I'm doing a review on that now, and I expect to be out to bids for that sometime this fall. That one will be done by the end of next year, before the end of next year.
So is it 3 years on the TxDOT project, or how many years?
We have 3 years after their project is complete. So it really gives us like 8 years to do this, which is an extraordinary amount of time. But their program, we've got other projects that are in the mill now. TxDOT is supposed to do the bridge on Old Milliken Creek, or Old Milliken Road at Cedar Creek in Navasota. That's coming up in the near future. We've got the County Road 406 bridge. This will be replaced in, I believe, 2021. So there are other projects in the mill. These are just being added on to the cycle.
So you don't have any idea when 412?
They'll be done within the next 5 years, and realistically towards the end of that 5-year period. They have tentatively scheduled them for 2023. What TxDOT does, they look at the structural condition of the bridges. They don't take the absolute worst bridges because they won't last that long. They take the bad ones, but ones that they expect will stay in reasonable shape for that 5-year period. And in the EMP projects, we typically take on the ones that are really bad, that aren't gonna last that long. So, because we can do it much faster than TxDOT can.
So these, your EMP projects are in your 2020 budget?
Yes. Again, these are the bridges that are in worse shape, so I don't want to leave them out there
Yeah.
any longer than necessary.
Pretty bad.
Potholes are one thing, bridges falling down is something else.
Right, or if there are no further questions.
Okay.
Are there resolutions? These
There-
are the resolutions.
Right.
Okay. I'd like to make the motion that we adopt the resolutions related to the TxDOT Bridge Program pertaining to County Road 201, County Road 215, and County Road 412, and authorize the county judge to submit letters of request for waiver of the 10% local government participation amount for these projects.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 15 by Commissioner Walker, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 16, consider and possible action to award a construction contract for the reconstruction of Link Road, County Road 421.
Yesterday, we opened bids for the reconstruction of Lake Road between FM 1227 and Industrial Drive. We had 4 bidders. Knife River was the low bidder with a price of $134,415.45, followed by Glen Fuqua, Palisada, and Brazos Paving. I passed out copies of the bid tabulation for y'all to look at. I can tell you that Knife River came in under my estimate for the project, and because of the relatively tight grouping of, I feel pretty confident. These are good prices. Knife River obviously well-known in these parts and has good reputation, so we're recommending that the project be awarded to them at this time. I have spoken to them, and they've indicated that probably the first week in August, they would be able to start. God willing, the creek don't rise.
And the hurricane don't come.
Yeah, they can't work on 105 and 1774, you might as well give them something better.
Hopefully they're gonna get back on that and get it done.
Up in their schedule, so.
Do I have a motion?
I make the motion that we award a construction contract for the reconstruction of Link Road to Knife River, a total of $134,415.45, based upon Mr. Walker's recommendation, or the bids.
Very good. Did you second that, Commissioner?
Yes, sir, I did.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 16. First by Commissioner Walker, seconded by Commissioner Cox. All in favor, is there further discussion? I'm sorry. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Road and Bridge report, please, sir.
Everyone's busy, not a surprise this time of year. Our contract mower has completed their first cycle for the summer. That went pretty smoothly. We had a new contractor this time on the pool, and they did a good job, minimal issues. We are finishing up preparing base material for our chip sealing projects as we speak. And within the next week, we should start on chip sealing down in the Todd Mission area, the county. We're going to start down there. Recall we had several roads that we had planned to do last summer, and we had the base prepared, and then the hurricane, or not hurricane, but the rain started, and we didn't get those finished. So we're going to start where we left off last year, and then work our way through the rest of the county. So we'll be even busier in the upcoming weeks. Continuing to put out a lot of rock, just take care of general work on the roads, continue to do a lot of ditch work. We've had a lot of trees removed here recently, following some of the storms we've had. We continue to have other trees come down, and we're also having to go back. Ones where we just push the trees out of the road, cut them out of the way, and open it up. We're having to go back and pick up, clean up those trees, so that activity is still going on. We've also, I've told the guys that we have money in the budget for some overtime that we typically use for shredding and side booming this time of year. And I've told them it's time to start working on that also. So we'll pick up on the vegetation. We're kind of reaching the point where the vegetation growth slows down. And so if we shred it and side boom, it didn't come back quite so fast. So I'll be working on that here over the next few weeks also. Questions?
Yeah, I've got just a comment, just to follow up with you. I mean, we've had a discussion, you and I have talked about County Road 446, and there is a game plan in place to address some of those issues down in that area.
There, yeah, 446, I will mention, we have received a payment from the contractor that caused some of those damages, and we will be working on those repairs here shortly. Just, I think since the last meeting I was at, we got a check in that included part of that.
Good.
Also, I want to comment that we're working on a bill for energy transfer for about $20,000 on County Road 2, a little over $20,000 for County Road 215 that they did the damages they did last year on the project they had out there. We also received from Atmos a couple of weeks ago about $6,000 from them, I believe it was, or was it 5,000?
About 6.
Okay. Also on County Road 215 there. So we are going after the contractors on some of these projects. And part of that on 446 was actually Magellan. I've got pictures of where when it was raining real bad, they tore that road up pretty bad. And that's when I was harassing them.
Well, I talked to Harry, I guess just yesterday or Monday. I woke up from my nap, and one of the things that I had suggested to him is that when we do start billing these companies, these heavy construction, that, you know, we just put a bid out, or signed a contract for almost $300,000 to have a contractor do work. And I don't know that we've been generous in the past of just billing for materials and that kind of thing, but maybe we start getting reimbursed. Maybe we ought to look at what it would cost a contractor to do it, because it continuously puts your crews behind. So, you know, I don't want to run businesses from doing business in the county, but in the same respect, as Commissioner Cox mentioned a while back about, you know, one of the big issues the citizens complain about are the roads. And when we take your guys off their scheduled activities because of the road repair, even though we're getting reimbursed, it's putting you behind.
Sure.
And then, so just that thought. And the second thing, were you able to talk to your foreman about keeping our guys full of Gatorade and electrolytes?
We have. We've had that discussion
Okay.
here recently again, and just reminded them that they have the ability to do that.
Good.
And it encourage them to do
Because
that.
it is increasingly hot with the humidity. I just don't want the guys falling out.
And we also mentioned, we just got in a box of safety gear, funded through TAC.
Yes.
That includes the neck coolers
Right.
and some things like that we're distributing right now.
Okay.
Great time of year for that kind of stuff.
If there are no other comments or questions, thank you for your report,
Thank
sir.
you.
I have
Oh.
mentioned before about hiring contractors to do
Did you?
a lot of this work.
Well, I just-
And I think we need to do that.
So you woke up from your nap too, huh?
Yes.
Okay, so,
A good while ago.
We'll see, as we talked before, we have a contractor to do a part of our chip sealing this year. It would be probably around Labor Day, late August before they start. And then now we have the contractor to do the reconstruction on Lake Road, which includes hot mix. We'll see how that goes and see what kind of headaches we develop out of that. But I think it's a way to cover more bases at one time. We pay a little more for the contractors, but there's some opportunity costs associated with us doing it ourselves.
sure.
It's always an issue. Like I said, we're going to be starting into our chip sealing program here very shortly. The unintended consequences of that is our general maintenance operations slow down because so many of our resources get committed to the chip sealing. So just pothole repairs and things like that will take a little bit longer to get caught up on.
Well, as you heard in your performance review, you continue to have our support with the good decisions you make, so thank you.
Well, thank you.
Agenda item number 17 has already been resolved. Agenda item number 18, consider and take action regarding the burn ban and authorize the county judge as signatory. I think everything's still pretty green, David, and rain's in the forecast.
It's been pretty hot, vegetation is starting to dry out.
We'll keep an eye on it then.
We're likely to get more rain again.
All right.
Whatever happens with the storm.
Before we ask for adjournment, Commissioner, undoubtedly you didn't get the email on today's Blue Coat Day?
I'm coordinating very well.
Okay.
Coordinate.
With that, we'll go to agenda item number 20. Is there a motion to adjourn?
You didn't ask about number 19.
Did I not? Oh, I'm sorry,
You-
number 19. Are there any updates on the strategic plan? I know that Commissioner Mallett's working diligently to get PGAL with
Meeting with
something.
PGL and the Sheriff's Department tomorrow.
Okay, good.
Kind of go over security and stuff. over there.
Thanks. All right. Any other items? Agenda item 20, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second. There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 20 to adjourn by Commissioner Dobianski, seconded by Commissioner Mallett. Any comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.